Hello, Joe from Joe K Models here. Alright, so we've got both of these side pieces on here, and we were going with the open canopy. And I'm just very impressed with the level of detail on here. I mean, as you can see, this panel right here actually sits above the rest of them, and that's how it actually was on the airplane. I believe there was an extra metal plate that went over the gas tank to protect it. Pretty sure that's what it was used for, but the fit has been really good so far, and I'm about to start cracking away on some of the interior here. Now I've been looking, and I need to drill out these two holes. So you got a 0.6 millimeter and a 0.8, and I have both of these here. So I'm going to be drilling those in there. You need to do that right now because if you forget, you're never going to know where those holes are once you put the two halves together. And then as I've been kind of looking at the directions, I was on the fence about possibly painting all of this separately before putting it on the airplane. But I think that, I have some pretty fine detail brushes, and I think I should be okay with just going ahead and gluing these pieces on and then painting them after. And, that way it might be better to have those in place. That way I don't have to be trying to glue on top of paint and that type of deal. I am a big believer in primer, so I'm going to be priming everything in black before I do the bare metal silver and the cockpit green. And the reason why I do that is because I think it's, at least in my experience, I think it's important to put the primer down, especially if you're going to be doing things like washes and just things like that where you're putting something on top of it and scraping away. In the past, where I've just put the paint to plastic, there have been instances where, if you're not careful, you can go right down to the bare plastic. So and also the primer is great because you can see if there's any seam lines that you may not have noticed, and you can sand those out and deal with those accordingly. So I'm going to be using primer. Again, this is going to be bare metal silver, and then the cockpit green shouldn't be too much of an issue, but I think I'm going to put in some of these instruments ahead of time and then just paint the detail painting afterwards. So let's get going and let's see how it goes. So one of the things that I notice is there are some very faint pin ejector marks. As you can see, there's one right there. There's one here, even though that one's probably not going to be visible. But there are a few that I'm going to go ahead and deal with. And what's nice about this is there's some back here which are not visible that you can actually practice on before you actually go for the real thing. But there's also some extra pieces on here that you can practice on as well. Since this is part of the closed canopy and I'm doing an open canopy, I can use this. So you can see there that there's one right there. And how I'm going to deal with this is I have this blade right here, and then I'm going to just scrape it like that. And I'm pretty happy with that. Another thing that I do sometimes is I'll take a piece of sandpaper like this on some self-locking tweezers. And you can kind of sand it. It's tough to get into these little crevices sometimes. And then another little trick that I like to do when I'm done is I'll take some extra thin here. And just very, not with a lot, but just a little bit. Put this on like that. And that should smooth it out. And here is that test piece. And I sprayed some primer and a little bit of silver on it just to see what we got. And, you know, I can barely make out this panel here and this panel there. Can't really see very much of anything. So that's good enough for me as far as that's concerned. So time to continue on. Another thing that I noticed is that you are supposed to actually cut this piece out to make a little hole for a piece later on. I already did it on this side. As you can see, there's a little notch right there. I'm just carving that out with the hobby knife. It's kind of easy to miss. It's in the directions here, right on the side. This part to the left, I think that's just referring to the sprue gate, whereas that piece right there needs to be actually carved out, because when you get to the end of the directions here, as you can see, there's this piece right here that goes into that little hole. So that's what I'm doing right now, but just wanted to point that out. Alright, and that's where I think I'm gonna finish up on this vlog. You know, I really thought I would get more done as far as the assembly, but we had some issues to take care of as far as those pin ejector marks and you know, just some basic housekeeping items. So next time I'm going to start the actual assembly of the instruments in the cockpit, and we're going to be putting some paint down finally. And I mean, you can see right here how this fit looks. You can see that hole that I had to kind of take care of, but I mean, the fit on this is looking absolutely amazing. So I expect the rest of it to be just as good, and I will catch you guys on the next vlog. This is Joe from Joe K Models.